At the cousin's birthday party, my sister gave out gift bags for everyone who mattered. My daughters had a sticky note that said, "Try harder next year." We didn't make a scene. We just left. The next morning, my sister opened her front door and screamed so loud. We were at my cousin's birthday party when my sister handed out gift bags only to the kids she thought were important. Lily's? Theirs had a sticky note slapped on it that read, "Try harder next year." We didn't cause a scene or say a word. We just got up and left. The next morning, my sister opened her front door and let out a scream so loud the neighbor thought someone was getting murdered and called the cops. I wish I could say it caught me off guard. I wish I could tell you that when I saw what they gave my little girl, my stomach dropped or my world froze, like in those dramatic movie scenes. But honestly, it felt like something I'd been expecting for years. Not with hope, more like a deep, sinking kind of dread, the kind that whispers, well, here it is. The party had been hosted at my sister's house, which looked like something lifted straight off a Pinterest board. Balloon arches as tall as the ceiling, all in perfectly matched colors. A dessert table so fancy it might as well have had a press agent. The birthday twins wore matching shirts that said "Born to Shine," like they were a brand. Kids darted around, gripping their custom party bags like they were pirate treasure. And my daughter held onto mine like it was all she had. She's 7. That morning, she picked out a glittery headband she said made her feel like a whole galaxy. Crowds make her nervous, always have, but she'd practiced saying happy birthday in the car twice. She even made 2 little handmade cards, one for each cousin, covered in stars and signed with love in shaky crayon. I was proud of her just for walking in the door. Tom and I hung around near the snack table, pretending to enjoy awkward small talk with folks we barely knew. I tried to tune out the fact that my sister barely even looked at us. That my mom shot me that tight, forced smile that meant, "Don't start anything." And that my dad gave a single nod before going back to slicing meat like it was brain surgery. Then came the gift bags. Each kid got one with their name written in glitter across the front. Inside were stuffed animals, bubble wands, personalized water bottles, even a little keychain with their first initial. One by one, they lit up like it was Christmas morning. Then someone handed a bag to my daughter. A plain white paper bag. No glitter, no name. Just a crooked sticky note with my sister's handwriting, "Try harder next year." Lily stared at it, confused. Like maybe she was reading it wrong. Maybe something inside would explain the joke. She reached in. There was a broken crayon. A used eraser. And a peppermint still wrapped, but it looked like it had been bouncing around in someone's purse for months. That was it. I saw the muscles in her throat tighten. She looked up at me. Her tiny fingers slipped into mine like she was bracing for impact, like she thought maybe this was her fault somehow. And then came the laughter. From the adults. My sister laughed first, that high-pitched, sharp laugh she always uses to show she's the one in control. "She's been acting up lately," she said with a shrug, like it was cute. Interrupting, back-talking, crying over every little thing. Just a little wake-up call. Carol chuckled and said, "Honestly, it's good for her. You baby her too much." Even my dad made a sound, somewhere between a grunt and a laugh, like he wasn't sure how to react but figured it was harmless. The other kids laughed too, not because they understood, but because that's what kids do, they follow the lead. Lily smiled. Not a real one. That tight, shaky smile kids wear when they're trying not to cry. Tom glanced at me not with surprise, but with a calm, steady look. He crouched down beside her, gently took the bag from her hands, and said, "You don't need this. Let's go find some real cake." We stood up. No words. We just took her hand in ours and walked out of that house like we were leaving something that had caught fire behind us. Nobody stopped us. Nobody called out. Not even my sister. Later, at home, my daughter curled up on the couch and stared at the glittery stars she'd drawn on those birthday cards. She looked at me and asked, "Was it because I didn't say thank you fast enough?" I said, "No, sweetheart. It was because some people forget how to be kind." She nodded. Pressed those cards against her chest like they might protect whatever was left of her feelings. She fell asleep there, wrapped in the soft throw blanket her dad had given her last Christmas, the one that says, "You are safe. You are strong. You are loved." I sat in the kitchen while my husband made tea. Neither of us said much. We didn't need to. This wasn't the first time. But it felt like the last. After a while, he said, I paused the payments. Rent. Grocery card. The electric bill. Everything. I nodded. Then I opened the drawer where we kept the important stuff. I pulled out the folder I'd been slowly building over the years. Text messages. Photos. A printed email from my sister asking me to watch her kids for a week so she could go on a solo trip to reset. The Venmo receipts. Like the one where I covered our parents' property tax and they replied, "We'll pay you back after the cruise." That folder was thick. And I added one final piece. That sticky note. Try harder next year. I slipped it into a clear sleeve and placed it right on top. Tom watched me. He didn't say anything. But when our eyes met, he gave me a nod. Not asking permission. Just saying, finally. Tomorrow, I'd drop that folder off. No warning. No argument. Just facts. They wanted to teach my daughter a lesson? All right then. They were about to get one too. The saddest part? It didn't even start with her. That's what breaks me the most. She never should have been part of this. She deserved safety. Love. Protection. From everyone, not just the family she was born into, but the one around her too. But it didn't begin with her. It started with me. Growing up in that house meant becoming whoever they needed me to be just to avoid getting picked apart. It meant figuring out the mood in the room before you even knew how to read a book. It meant silence was safer than truth. That faking a smile was easier than explaining why you felt broken inside. Heather was always the favorite. No one ever said it directly, but they didn't have to. You could hear it in my parents' tone when they spoke to her. In how their eyes lit up over the most boring stories she told, just because they were hers. Anytime I did something worth being proud of, it got a half-hearted, "That's good," while Heather's tiniest achievement sparked a whole celebration: cake, decorations, and 50 texts lighting up the family group chat. I still remember coming home in 3rd grade, clutching a certificate for perfect attendance. I dragged myself through sniffles and stomach bugs just to earn that thing. I handed it to my mom, beaming, and she barely looked at it before saying, "Heather got Student of the Month, you know." That's a way bigger deal. When I finally brought home an A- in math, a subject I'd wrestled with all semester, my dad just said, "Your sister never brought home less than an A." The one time I landed the lead in the school play, they didn't even show up. Heather had a volleyball practice, not even a game, and that was apparently more important. They told me they'd try to make the next one. They never did. Birthdays were the worst. They always lumped mine in with Heather's, even though our birthdays were nearly 2 months apart. My name was usually scribbled somewhere in the corner of the cake. One year they gave us a single present to share, a pair of rollerblades in Heather's size. I learned early that I was always either too much or not enough. Too quiet, too emotional, too reserved, too outspoken. I cried too easily. I asked too many questions. I kept to myself. I sulked. I didn't smile the right way, or enough. There were never bruises. No shouting matches. Just a steady undercurrent of never being good enough. And if I dared to notice, I was told I was being too sensitive. I'll never forget being 15, coming home in tears after a teacher wrongly accused me of cheating. I was crushed. I hadn't cheated. Carol's response? "Well, you do keep to yourself. Maybe you seem suspicious. Next time, smile more and act normal." At 17, I finally got the nerve to tell them I thought I might be struggling with depression. Carol just rolled her eyes and said, "That's the new thing, huh? Everyone thinks they're depressed these days. You're just bored. Pick up a hobby." Heather said I was being dramatic, then took my phone charger and never gave it back. By the time I left for college, I was emotionally flatlined. I didn't even expect them to help me move in, and I wasn't wrong. They sent a card a week late with $25 inside and a sticky note that read, "Don't blow it." I didn't. I made it through college. Found therapy. Started learning how to name what I'd lived through: emotional neglect, scapegoating, passive-aggressive control. And how to start undoing it. When I met my husband, I was still scared I was too much for anyone to handle. I remember crying during a movie and immediately apologizing. He just passed me a tissue and said, "That part hit hard, huh?" Like crying was the most normal, human thing to do. He was the first person who ever asked what I wanted for my birthday and actually got it right. Not because he guessed. Because he listened. When I opened up about my family, I made it sound quirky. Harmless. He didn't press. But after meeting them for the first time, he squeezed my hand under the table. Later, he said, "You weren't exaggerating. I let them back in when our daughter was born. Because I wanted her to have what I never did: a big, loving family. Cousins to grow up with. Holidays full of warmth. Grandpa Joe Rents who adored her." At first, it was small things. My sister made comments about the way my daughter dressed. "She's got a quirky style, huh?" Carol would push her to hug people she didn't want to. "Don't be rude, sweetie. Give Uncle Mike a proper hug." Frank would make snide remarks when she cried over loud sounds. "Better toughen up if she's gonna survive in this family." I tried to explain. Told them she has sensory processing challenges. That she needs understanding, not shame. That she was doing the best she could. They just rolled their eyes. "You're overreacting. She's fine." Heather called me a snowplow parent. Said I was raising a kid who'd end up a doormat. And when I set boundaries, I became the difficult one. The overdramatic one. The problem. Every time I defended my daughter, they used the same tricks they'd used on me growing up, mocking, minimizing, freezing me out. Sometimes they ganged up on me. I remember overhearing my mom whisper to Heather once, thinking I wasn't close enough to hear. She just wants to feel important. Let her have this. This. Like advocating for my child was just some attention-seeking phase. A tantrum. And I let it slide. Too many times. Because deep down, I kept hoping they'd change. That they'd wake up and finally see her. Really see her. But they didn't. They only saw themselves. Their need to feel right. To keep the old pecking order exactly how they liked it. Lily? She was just their next target. Another link in the chain of how they treated me. Only now, I saw it for what it was. And I had a choice. Keep giving them access. Keep letting them chip away at her the way they chipped away at me. Or stop the cycle. I chose her. I chose me. And tomorrow, they'd understand exactly what that meant. We didn't sleep much that night. Lily finally nodded off, her little fingers still curled around the birthday card she'd made for her cousins. I sat awake, the glow of the laptop screen lighting the room as I stared at the blinking cursor, like it was daring me to go through with it. At 4:07 a.m., I emailed the landlord, the one who manages the duplex where my sister lives. I explained we'd be ending the side arrangement. It was never formal, but the rent always came from our account, and he knew that. He replied within 20 minutes. Understood. I'll inform her of the updated balance today. At 4:49 a.m., my husband drafted the letter for the auto loan company. The car was in our name. Our credit. Our down payment. Heather had missed payments twice before we stepped in. This time? We weren't stepping in. We were stepping away. By 6:02 a.m., we were printing everything. The texts. Emails. Screenshots from group chats where my daughter was called difficult. Where Heather wrote, she's gonna be just like her mom, oversensitive and exhausting. There was even a voice memo. A clip from Christmas 2 years ago. My husband had been filming a sweet moment, or so he thought, where my mother leaned in close to Heather and said, "Don't bother getting her anything nice. She never appreciates it anyway." They were talking about me. By 7 a.m., everything was printed and organized into a folder. Labeled. Annotated. I tied the folder up with a deep red ribbon I'd found in the junk drawer. Funny thing, it was from one of Heather's kids' birthdays. I didn't plan it that way. It just felt right. By 7:30 that morning, we were in the car, driving to my sister's house. Neither of us said a word. We just had that folder. Tom placed it gently on her doorstep, like he was setting down something fragile. We rang the bell. Then we turned and walked away. We were halfway down the block when it happened. That scream. Raw. Wild. Like something that had been trapped inside her throat for years had finally forced its way out. I didn't turn around. Tom just gripped the wheel a little tighter, and for a second, he smiled. Later I heard the neighbor had come outside in his robe, thinking someone must have been seriously hurt. And when he saw Heather on the front lawn, red-faced and panicked, clutching that folder like it might explode, he called the cops. By the time the officers showed up, Heather was already telling them I was harassing her. That her crazy sister was trying to ruin her life. They flipped through the folder. Calmly, they told her it was a civil matter. Nothing illegal. Nothing criminal. Just facts. Just the truth. By noon, my phone was buzzing nonstop. 38 messages from Heather. At first, it was all shouting, in caps. "What is wrong with you? You think this is funny?" Then came the guilt trips. "We're family. You can't just walk away from us like this." Then the pleading. "Please, don't stop paying. Not over a joke." Then the threats. "If you don't take this back, you'll regret it." Carol called 4 times. Left a voicemail the 3rd time. "You've taken this too far. Every family has issues, but you lit a match. What do you want from us?" She didn't sound sorry. She sounded pissed. I didn't answer. Instead, I emailed the digital folder to our extended family. Aunts, uncles, cousins. No explanations. No commentary. Just a simple subject line. In case you ever wondered why we stopped showing up. By the end of the day, I had 20 replies. Half said some version of. I had no idea. One cousin sent just 3 words. Good. 4. You. But the real fallout didn't hit until 2 weeks later. Mr. Callahan followed through. Heather was given 30 days to pay in full or vacate the place. The loan company flagged the car. Her missed payments triggered a deeper review, and she got a formal warning. When my husband saw the notice, he smiled. Just a small, quiet smile. My parents didn't call me. They called him. She won't listen to us, my mom said. Maybe she'll listen to you. Tell her we're sorry. Tell her she doesn't have to do this. And he told them what I didn't have to. She's not doing this to you. You did it to yourselves. The next morning, they showed up at our house. Lily saw them from the window and her face went pale. I met them at the door. Didn't let them in. We just want to talk, my dad said. This is getting out of hand. No, I said. This is called consequences. Carol tried to squeeze out a tear, but none came. I didn't move. They left a sympathy card in the mailbox, one of those bland, mass-produced ones. Inside it said, "We miss our family." I sent it back with a sticky note. So did I. Then I went back inside. Lily was curled up on the couch, legs tucked under a blanket, quietly reading. She looked up and asked, "Were they mad?" I shook my head. They were loud. That's not the same thing. She nodded, satisfied. That night, my husband took us out for ice cream. We didn't make a big deal out of it. We just breathed. But in that quiet moment, there was something new. Stillness. And it was deafening in the best way. About a week went by. Silence, more or less. Well, the kind of silence where you can still feel the anger humming behind it. Heather had gone nuclear, sure. But after the scream, the endless texts, and her failed guilt trip tour, everything went dark. For a moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd finally gotten it. They hadn't. 10 days after I dropped that folder off, my daughter came home from school with a note tucked in her backpack. From Heather. It was written on pastel stationery with little hearts around the border, like something you'd use for a child's lunchbox note. Inside, it said, "If you ever feel sad or confused, remember Auntie Heather loves you. You can call me anytime, even if your mom says no." Lily handed it to me, her face uncertain. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked. I felt a rage rise in my throat so fast, it nearly choked me. This wasn't about crossed lines anymore. This was deliberate. Calculated. Manipulation, plain and simple. I picked up the phone and called the school immediately. Turns out, Heather used a friend's name to drop the note off. Claimed it was for her niece. No one checked her ID. No oversight. Just a smile and a name. That afternoon, I filed a formal no-contact order. With the school. With the district. With the local police. I sent a cease and desist to both my sister and my parents. Our lawyer followed up with official paperwork. 2 days later, someone made a fake social media account. Started tagging me in posts. Calling me ungrateful. Sharing old, blurry childhood photos with captions like, "Some people forget who raised them." Then came the anonymous message. "Just remember, kids grow up. One day she'll know what you did." That was the final straw. I forwarded everything to my lawyer, who handed it straight to law enforcement. Right after that, Heather posted a selfie of herself crying. Captioned it, "When your own family betrays you. Cue the sympathy parade." Until little cracks started forming. One aunt. Then a cousin. Then another cousin. Screenshots started making the rounds. Voicemails were replayed. People saw everything, the receipts, the messages, all of it. The same way I had. My parents didn't take it well. They scrambled, trying to do damage control with the extended family. Scheduled some kind of emergency Zoom call to clear things up. I didn't bother joining. But I heard about it. Someone apparently asked why I hadn't been invited to Grandpa Joe's birthday last year. My mother froze. Didn't have an answer. Then another person asked why Heather, who's the only one in the family with a stable income, was dipping into the emergency fund. And someone else asked about the birthday party, if the story floating around was actually true. It was. By the time the call ended, 4 people had quietly left the meeting without saying goodbye. My parents stopped posting pictures of family events altogether. Heather deleted her social media account. Then came the letter. It arrived in a fancy envelope, blue ink scribbled across monogrammed paper. A messy, desperate attempt from my mom to pull us back in. Family is messy, it started. We made mistakes. But in the end, we're all we have. Don't punish everyone forever over one misunderstanding. Your daughter will regret this distance. So will you. I didn't reply. Instead, I framed the letter. Hung it on the wall right next to the sticky note that started it all. Try harder next year. That night, I helped my daughter hang fairy lights around her new bed. She chose the soft glow kind, the ones that fade from color to color like slow, sleepy breaths. Her own breathing had changed too. It wasn't tight or hesitant anymore. It was calm. Peaceful. Free. She made new friends, not loud, wild ones, but soft, sweet kids from her art class. Gentle souls who didn't tease her when she covered her ears. Who didn't mind when she needed a minute to reset. She started sleeping through the night. And one morning, as we were brushing our teeth side by side, she said it so simply. My heart doesn't feel like it's buzzing anymore. I pulled her into a hug so tight she squeaked and laughed. And then, near the end of the school year, her class hosted a family day. Each student could invite one adult to join them, eat cookies, walk through the classroom, see their artwork. She picked me. Of course, she did. Her art project was a painting bright galaxies swirling across the canvas, soft pinks and deep blues melting together like space was something you could touch. In one corner, she'd painted 5 simple words in bold black strokes. Safe is better than big. On the way home, I asked her if she wanted to stop for ice cream. She said yes, then paused. Mom? Yeah, baby? You did the right thing. Even if they say you're mean. Even if they never talk to us again, you did the right thing. I blinked hard, fighting that tight lump in my throat. Thanks, sweetheart. That means everything. She leaned back in her seat, smiling like it was the easiest truth in the world. Later that night, right before bed, I checked my email one last time. There was one new message. From Heather. No subject. No greeting. Just 6 words. Are you happy now? You won. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because she was wrong. I didn't win. I walked away. And for the first time in my life, I didn't look back. Maybe I went too far. Maybe I didn't go far enough. Sometimes I wonder if I should have said more that day at the party. Or maybe walking out in silence was the loudest thing I've ever done. I think about what my daughter will remember as she grows up. And more importantly, what she won't have to unlearn because I stepped in when it mattered most. But now I want to ask you something. If it were your child, would you have done the same? Would you have walked away? Fought harder? Let it go? Tell me in the comments. Did I cross a line? Or did I finally draw one? And if you want more stories like this raw, emotional, and real, hit subscribe.